Welcome to the Manila Times.
Thank you, sir.
So, we don't have visitors very often from Georgia. What brings you to the Philippines? What is your mission here?
First of all, let me express our sincere gratitude for having us over and for the great chance to share our part of the story. Yeah, this is the first visit from Georgia and especially from the Autonomous Republic in Manila. And for me, it's also the first visit. And our key intention is to meet the people here from the government, from the business, and basically try to deepen the relations as we see a big potential of cooperating between these two countries on bilateral level as well as on the regional level. So we are very excited, and we already had a chance to see a little bit of Manila, and it's one of the nicest places, and
Thank you.
people are very friendly. So we are looking forward to deepen these relations and come up with the new prospects and to basically establish and lay the stronger foundation for the good cooperation going forward.
Right. I understand you've been meeting with some of our officials on our side. What are some of the discussions that you can share with us?
We already had the honor to meet the Senator Pacquiao, and he was
Is he very popular in Georgia,
kind-
Senator Pacquiao?
not only in Georgia, as you can understand, and that was also a very good meeting, and he was kind enough to host us. And of course, we discussed myriads of areas of the mutual cooperation. Now we have a few days going forward where we will be meeting the officials from the Filipino government, and of course, for us, the key priorities and the areas where we see a big potential is, of course, the trades, tourism, and the economy in general. So we'll discuss these areas in detail, where we can find the new ways of cooperating in terms of the investments, in terms of the tourism flows. We also see Manila and Philippines as one of the good examples that we can have a lot of takeaways in terms of the promoting the tourism, especially after pandemics when the recovery is very critical for every government. And also we see the areas where Philippines has advanced a lot. So this can be a good learnings as well for Georgia, for my government as well. Therefore, laying this foundation will certainly guarantee a future mutual success.
Right. Correct me if I'm wrong, but there's no formal embassy here yet. Is there a discussion maybe to establish those, maybe the Philippines in Tbilisi and Georgia in Manila?
Our embassy now operates from Indonesia, but
Yes, yes.
as we move forward, of course, we are discussing to have the more diplomacy and more representation here. And I'm quite confident that this year will be sort of breakthrough
I see.
for these mutual relations and taking this bilateral cooperation at the higher point.
Is your trip to Manila part of a regional visit? Are you also going to Indonesia and other countries in Southeast Asia, or is the Philippines solely in your
We start with the Philippines, we prioritize,
Okay.
and then, of course, we are quite confident that this sort of entry here will make better prospects for even broader cooperation in the other countries as well, and this part of the world, southeast of Asia, because we've been cooperating and working with the investors from this part of the world. There is a increasing interest, and we see the demands and the requirements and understanding your culture is becoming more relevant to us. Therefore, on the business level, on personal level, we try to have this better understanding of each other, of course, and we are very thankful for the confidence that we see from the investors and from the business executives which are coming. As you can understand, now Georgia is one of the front runners after COVID, and especially taking account of the turbulent times in the region, the war on the other part of the Black
In
Sea.
Ukraine,
Georgia is keeping the safe track and very stable and consistent course towards our national and international interests, as well as pursuing the very consistent economic policy. And we are top 3 in the world now in terms of economic growth, having double-digit growth, more than 10%.
I heard 10% in 2021.
21 and 22.
And 22 also.
Yes,
Congratulations.
yes. So that's a good record to keep, and our republic is also one of the front runners. We have the growth of maybe 15, in between 15 to 16%, and also after hit and the adverse effect by COVID, we've been able to fully recover the tourists. So you can imagine the scale. Georgia is relatively the country with the smaller population, but we host maybe double number of the tourists every year.
Wow.
We are about 4 million, and we host more than 7 to 8 million visitors every year. So that is something that we'd like to capitalize more on that. And of course, we are striving to the EU integration, European Union, and having better economic alliances with our partners and unions, as well as our key priority is to consistently increase the welfare for our fellow citizens. And therefore, cooperation on bilateral and regional level is very important in terms of flow of the investments, foreign direct investments, new markets for tourism and for the touristic traffic. We are also discussing the ways of the stronger connectivity, having more flights, operating direct flights, so people can easily reach the desired destination. And we also understand that this takes effort. We are ready and committed for this, and we have good people that we are working and good counterparties. So we're just aiming at a higher bar, and we're quite sure that we'll reach there.
Well, Your Excellency, I must admit, Filipinos know very little about Georgia other than it was formerly with the Soviet Republic, but you're now an independent country, and your region is an independent republic within Georgia as well. So maybe what would you like Filipinos to know about your country? What I know or what I see on the internet, beautiful open spaces. I heard very friendly people, but in terms of the image you'd like Filipinos to have of your country, and maybe for Filipinos also looking for opportunities, what is the image of Georgia you would like to paint for them?
Let me start that Georgia is at the crossroads of east and west, and north and south. So this gives quite a leverage in terms of geopolitics and
Yes.
geography. It's really the gateway from east to west, and basically this is the hub where the traffic and where the new opportunities lay. And what we would like to position and basically highlight about Georgia, and especially my home city, is that if you look to the geography, you look to the logistics, you look to the mix of the culture and climate and weather, Georgia is really the appealing place, having a very long and quite a rich history, being cradle of wine, as well as being one of the top reformers nowadays, having the very liberal tax regime, having very consistent and irreversible way to the Western integration. And this is the place where the investors, where tourists can feel safe, where they can explore new openings, and where they will really see the heart of the Georgians as one of the most hospitable nation.
Yeah. What are the opportunities that you see that are right for Georgian-Philippine relations? Are there any specific industries or economic sectors that we should look at?
We are looking at the trade, of course, to increase the trade. Of course, looking for the more tourism.
More tourism.
Yeah, and it can be both sides. Because
Yes.
Philippines having so many islands is one of the popular destinations
I
for
hope you get to
Georgia.
visit some of during this visit.
I hope so too. So tourism, and of course we are taking some of the learnings you have had in terms of the entertainment business in other areas where you have really succeeded. So then we can really use this knowledge transfer to make the industries stronger. So these are the key areas where we see.
Do you think the Filipinos could look to Georgia as our entry point to Europe? Is that
Absolutely.
how you are positioning your country?
That's why we consider, and we are quite convinced that Georgia is really the gateway from east to west. So we have the visa-free regime with the European Union, as well as we have the comprehensive free trade agreement. So that is something that, in terms of the entry point, is the place and is the country where the Filipinos, as well as the other people, can really have the direct access.
Right. Well, maybe Georgia can also think of the Philippines as your gateway to ASEAN, the Association of
Absolutely.
Southeast Asian Nations.
That's why we are here, and that's why we consider that Southeast Asia, and of course that part of the world where Georgia is strategically located, will have the mutual synergy and the benefit.
Your Excellency, do you mind if we ask you a little bit about what's going on in Ukraine? Is that something you can talk about?
No problem.
Because Filipinos are very much American centered, so our understanding of Europe is a little bit shallower compared to our knowledge of the U.S. But what is your assessment of what is Georgia's outlook on what's going to happen in Ukraine? Are you hopeful, or are you in the position of just to wait and see what happens? And of course, how is it impacting your country? Because we hear some of the refugees or many of the refugees are going into Georgia. What is your outlook? Of the
Actually,
region?
Georgia is one of the first countries in this century affected by the Russian aggression, and we are the first ones
Yes,
hit by this ongoing occupation,
Yes.
which remains one of the challenges for our country. And what happened in Ukraine is really
Very similar.
something tragic at one point, and on the other hand, it also has a very long standing political and economic consequences for everyone, not only the region but for the entire world. So we keep the consistent support for Ukrainians in their fight to defend the democracy, and our also national interests dictates us to keep the peace in the country. And of course we are very supportive to the displaced people from Ukraine and to the refugees, and we've been hosting thousands of them, and will continue their unwavering support. And of course we call and we hope for the solution, because this war cannot last years. You understand, because there were people, especially the children, suffering from
Yes.
these military actions. So we call the international community to be resolute in this case, and to basically find a solution that will promote the long-standing peace in Ukraine and in the surrounding areas. Meanwhile, we'll, with our hospitality, with our common grounds and values, we will of course continue to support all the affected people.
What is your relationship with Moscow, and is Georgia in a position to maybe host some talks to bring peace in Ukraine? Is your country in a position to do that?
I mentioned about the occupation, so
Yes.
this is not really the friendliest relations that we enjoy for the moment, but
Yes.
in a context of the Azerbaijan-Armenia war, Georgia found it to be the place and to be the point of meeting where the exchange of the military hostages happened. So in the future, of course, we'll try to contribute to the
peace
overall
effort,
peace,
yeah.
and that is the liability of every nation now, especially when the challenges and the security issues are becoming even more riskier.
Oh, you know Russia more than Filipinos do. Can you help us understand what is it that Russia wants? What do you think that they want? We're also affected. Our president was just talking about how the Ukraine wars impacted food prices in the Philippines.
Yeah.
So it seems like it's far away, but the effects are truly global. What does Russia want?
Of course, there is this ongoing interest of the territorial and political influence, of course, and we call and we hope that this interest can be balanced out in a way that will not adversely impact other nations. And of course, the big hit on the economy and big hit on the social well-being is triggered by the military actions. And today there should be no place, and there should be some other alternatives than just using the force.
About the region, this part of the world, what is Georgia's interest in Southeast Asia?
Of course, we want to do more economy and trade with Philippines and with Southeast of Asia. We'd like to extend our invitation to the Filipino businesses and the investors to invest in our country. And of course, we would like to promote more tourism and technology between two countries, between the regions. And we see that to be the best option to develop and increase the benefit and having the mutual interest in the joint projects and undertakings.
Are there any specific industries in Georgia that you would like to promote? Is it in energy, telecommunications, or manufacturing, or something else?
Of course, it's a hospitality business.
Hospitality.
It's of course the energy, and Georgia is one of the richest countries in terms of hydro and renewable in Europe. And of course, we see a lot of new opportunities in the technology sector. So this is the areas where the businesses and where the people can really benefit.
So you mentioned tourism. You have a beautiful country. My father was telling me that he found Tbilisi very beautiful. But how easy or how difficult is it for you to travel from your country to Manila and maybe the other way around?
It has not been an easy task for the moment, unfortunately, but this is the way also how we improve this year.
Yes.
That's why we are discussing the better connectivity options. That's why we are considering some the flights that will be more efficient and shorter. So, as I mentioned in the beginning, we hope and we are quite confident that this will be a breakthrough year for our bilateral cooperation.
And are there any discussions on air agreements or anything of that
We are
nature?
discussing with a lot of the operators and the partners how to make access easier and shorter.
And do you require visas for Filipino tourists going to Georgia, or what is the requirement?
We have quite a liberal regime, so
Okay.
visas can be obtained from home or at the border checkpoint. So
Okay.
this is
So
not
upon arrival.
this is not the issue at all. So welcome.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good to know. I think a lot of Filipinos love to travel. And
Looking forward.
so you've met with our Secretary of Trade. Who else are you planning to meet during this visit in Manila?
We are meeting with the Minister of Tourism,
Tourism?
yes, and we are meeting some other people from the private sector, from the businesses. So we hope that the meetings on the political level, on the business level, will sort of refine the path forward.
And are there any? Have you invited these ministers to visit your country? Yeah.
Absolutely. And indeed, let me express our gratitude for Manila Times. You've been doing a great work, and I'm really honored to be in your premises and being interviewed. So
Thank you.
we are looking forward that we'll update you soon about the
Sure.
developments and about the success that we are all looking forward.
Well, last question from me. Maybe I can turn over to Badet. But you've been here only a few days. But what are your initial impressions of the Philippines? Are you surprised? I know the weather is very different probably from Georgia because it's very humid in the Philippines.
I was amazed with the kind heart and the hospitality of Filipinos that I felt from the border actually, and we see that the country is developing, moving forward, and we also see that there is a big opportunities lying in this part of the world.
I know I said last question, but can you talk about your republic, Adjara? I mean, what is it like? If we visit your hometown, how far is it from Tbilisi? And what can we expect to see? Is it more mountains or more the Black Sea area? Or
Hope I can just sum up a few points that will be appealing to you to come.
Okay.
So
All right.
to see, we are just located at the west, south west part of the Georgia, and sharing the border with Turkey and just on the Black Sea. So that is one of the regions that's evolving really fast due to tourism, due to the business and investments all flowing there. So when we say gateway and when we say the tourism, our region is really the landmark for all these assumptions.
All right, Badet, you have some questions? Sir?
I have one question. Sir, you mentioned earlier that Georgia has a consistent economic policy and you have a very liberal tax regime. What other factors do you think will entice Philippine investors to come to Georgia to invest, such as in tourism sector?
We have, in general, liberal regime as well as very transparent, and we also quite well positioned in terms of the general efficiency, and we are quite resourceful when it comes to the labor, when it comes to the skilled personnel. So all this make the spheres and the areas quite competitive.
What are the strengths of the tourism sector of Georgia compared to your neighboring European countries?
I think a lot of people, Filipinos, are also going to Turkey these days.
I will just say with one sentence that in Georgia, every guest, not only tourist, is considered as a gift from God. So we take the best care of them.
I think Filipinos and Georgians are very similar in that way, but I heard that your hospitality is even warmer than the Filipinos.
Next time, when you're there, we'll try to reassure this not only with words, but with the welcome.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Is there anything else you'd like to mention that we haven't asked? Any other message that you'd like to share?
Let me thank you once again. It's a good occasion that we had a chance to meet and discuss. Thank you for that. And in the future, when we discussed all these plans, it's very critical that the media and Manila Times per se just is kept on the board, so we together drive this process.
Well, Your Excellency, we're very excited for your visit, and we hope that this will be followed by more missions both ways.
Thank you.
And when you have people from your country visiting Manila, please let us know, and we would be happy to do another interview like this to get their message to a broader audience in our country.
Thank you, sir.